Welcome everybody to the second talk of the SAP security track on day 2 of Troopers. Actually, SAP security at Troopers started already yesterday. We had a BSEC sub-security workshop with 7 sub-security specialists talking about various topics in the SAP security area. We also had a very nice networking dinner and very good discussions about the various aspects of SAP security, including some of the speakers today. JP from Onapsis was there, Martin Gallo was there, surprise guest, very welcome surprise guest, and also some guys from the industry and from universities. So,
Can you speak up a little bit? It was already
if somebody doesn't hear me, throw big things at me. I notice you don't hear me. I hope I'm loud enough. Not laptops, please. Yeah, where was I? SAP security. Alexander Polyakov already mentioned in his talk earlier that this started at Troopers in 2010, and actually Alexander Polyakov really had the first talk. I looked it up, it was the first talk, but on the second day of that same Troopers, Virtual Forge also gave a talk. So same event, but not the first talk. So the credit goes to Russia here, definitely. Yeah, and now we're talking not so much about vulnerabilities and exploiting, but rather than a specific topic of hosting SAP environments, hosted SAP solutions. So here's a little disclaimer. If you have time and feel a little dizzy and have trouble sleeping, you can read it. Otherwise, we proceed to who we are. Xu and myself are doing SAP security research, both for quite some time. We've been talking at various events on things we find. We also try to get scores for all the ODAs we report, the same way our friends from Russia do. Of course, everybody tries to get a high score. It's a sort of an SAP security researcher competition going on here. And so our mission is SAP security. We're an SAP security company, Virtual Forge, and focused on more on the ABAP side than on the Java side. As Alexander showed earlier, he's an expert on the Java side, definitely. We've been doing a lot of research around ABAP, about code analysis, vulnerabilities and stuff, but this year we're going to move it a little bit more on the business level, on the context level of hosting. So, earlier, Alexander already asked how many people know SAP. I don't know if the rules have changed. Probably most of you know SAP, but still, let's talk about why should we protect SAP systems in the first place? Any ideas? Why should we protect SAP systems? Pardon? Why not? Good idea. We have time. Why not also protect the SAP systems? Good. Okay, other ideas? Why is SAP something worth protecting, SAP systems?
Protect business data.
Protect business data, excellent. Thank you very much. This is exactly the question, the answer I have been waiting for. Because according to SAP's website, more than 48,500 companies runs up. This is a lot. And let's look at what kinds of companies these are and how much we depend on them. So, for example, SAP customers transport over 1 billion flight passengers each year. 65% of all the TVs are made by customers running SAP. 77,000 cars produced every day. And 52% of all the movies. So my God, what if SAP goes down? I can't go to cinema anymore. But the worst thing, and that would be something you would notice today at the evening dinner, the worst thing that can happen if SAP customers get hacked, 72% of the world beer production depends on SAP. So if not for any other reason, do it for the beer. So a word on statistics. In every talk, or in many talks, you see interesting statistics about how things distribute, what kind of things happens, how many things are of this color, of that flavor, whatever. Statistics are a very interesting thing. How many of you run SAP? Just ask a few statistical questions. 1, 2. Oh, now the statistics go up a lot. How many of you run on hosted SAP systems? 3. Okay, you have been warned. So statistics is basically like that. A hunter is looking for a rabbit. He shoots at the rabbit. He misses the rabbit on the left side by 5 inches. He shoots again at the rabbit, and he misses the rabbit on the right side by 5 inches. Statistically, the rabbit is dead now. This is statistics. So basically, what I want to say is you can turn statistic in any direction you want. And if you're presented with statistics, always think about why is this guy showing me some statistics. And especially my favorite, don't trust statistics you didn't falsify yourself. Talking about all this statistics, close disclaimer, let's talk a little bit about statistics in the SAP environment. So this statistic, I made this up myself. This is a disclaimer. Depending on which security company shows you that, the colors or the association with the colors varies. Let me explain how I falsified, in quotation marks, this statistic to make it look better. But the bottom line of that is, anyway, no matter how you distribute or count this stuff, if you look at all the O days reported to SAP, and this is what the statistics is about, credits for security advisory since 2010, when SAP started crediting, you notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies in the world own 75% of all the credits for SAP O days, which means the know-how on that is pretty much focused. Alexander Polyakov, ERP Scan, they're leading these statistics. If you count by security nodes, then they are the clear leader. No issue with that. The green guys, ESNC, they lead the statistics if you count the number of nodes they submitted 2013. Clear point. And Virtual Forge, our claim is that we base this on the number of credits per individual researcher. Why did we do that? We looked at some security nodes from SAP and we compared them to the advisories we sent to SAP. And it happens that sometimes you send 3 different vulnerabilities to SAP and they patch it with 1 node. Well, we are screwed. We don't get credit for all the 3. So we said, well, it may not be correct to only count the nodes. It may be better to at least look at the researchers credited, because if 3 different people issue an advisory, and if 3 are then credited in a node, this more reflects, or this may more reflect actually what's been going on behind the scenes. And yeah, another disclaimer on this specific page is, just to make it a little bit more ridiculous, and that we are not really, I mean, just the point is we are one of the 3 that do a lot of research here. So don't trust this statistic too much. The point I want to make with it is just 5 companies own 75% of all the SAP O days. I also did some counting in this area. So what is that? This is the point January 2010, when SAP started publicly crediting security researchers for their O days they responsibly disclosed to SAP. I think many, if not most, of the leading research companies started way earlier to submit O days to SAP. We did that first in 2003, where we found a buffer overflow vulnerability in the password parameter of SAP's Internet Transaction Server, which was actually their first web-enabled server. And we got a nice email, thank you, from SAP, but never a public credit. And over the years, we have submitted various problems, but these were never credited. But let's not talk about that too much. The point is they started doing that in 2010. And there's an interesting trend if you look at that. So what we're doing here is we are dividing the number of advisories submitted by researchers by the number of security nodes per month to see how much how much percentage do the researchers have in contrast to SAP's own internal research. And we see in the first 3 years till December 2012 that the researchers clearly lose against SAP on the average, statistically lose. So, but then something happened. In January 2013, we crossed the line of 50%, and only once since then the researchers dropped below the line. So looking at this more closely, the average before 2013 was 16% share of the advisories and 0 days found, with 61 nodes per month released by SAP on average. Again, this is all statistics. You can twist it into various forms and shapes. It's just one view of us on these informations. And since then, in 2013, you can turn around the 16 and get a 61% average share of the researchers, but the number of nodes has dropped to slightly below 30. So now we can discuss what's going on here. Are the researchers getting better? Is SAP no longer finding stuff with their own methodologies? I have no idea. There are also some rumors, non-confirmed rumors, that maybe SAP is not communicating all the security vulnerabilities in security nodes anymore. Some people say they might be, or the lesser problems might be in the service packs. I don't know if this is true, just something I've heard. I've also written a blog on that. If you're interested, you can have a look at it to get more details on that. So just about statistics. Now let's talk a little bit about more what we have in mind with this talk. First about the motivation, why we built this talk, and then two different scenarios which we want to present, a multi-system installation, a multi-system hosted installation, and a single system, a shared system installation, and of course a demo. So the motivation. This all started with a security incident with a hosted company in the United Kingdom. There was an interesting report. I can open that. The QR code is also a link, double link. Hello? So this was an article I came across. Just to summarize it roughly, you can get your precise own picture by looking at the stuff later. It's rather lengthy. The point is just being that the UK Post, or some UK Post, the UK police, sorry, dear UK police, I meant police, they were hosted and they did some kind of audit, and the audit turns out, or told those guys that there are, or there may be, just to be on a safe side, security issues with the hosted applications they have. This may be an insecure way of hosting, and there's a lot of discussion going on later on, potentially also including comments by SAP. I'm not really sure. There's an SAP guy making comments here. I don't know if this is somebody with SAP knowledge or somebody from SAP. It's not disclosed here. Again, you can have a look at that if you like. And that made us think, what are actually the risks if I am a customer in a hosted installation? What can happen to me? So let's show you two different ways of SAP hosting that can be applied. First one being multi-system hosting. So if you are in a multi-system hosted environment, you are one of these boxes. One of these boxes somewhere in the internet, at a hosting provider, maybe in the cloud, I have no idea. The only thing that is relevant is here, your box may be your own, the one you have hosted, but the box is maintained through SAP Solution Manager. So Solution Manager is one of the newer components in the SAP landscape that basically manages all the installations. It allows you to deliver patches and stuff like that. It also allows you to get information about the SAP systems that are maintained, collect data, make statistical analysis of what's going on in the systems and stuff like that. So now we have to know, in order for this to work, in order for Solution Manager to be able to access all of these machines, what is the requirement? The technical requirement or the technical precondition that Solution Manager can actually talk to all those hosted servers. Clearly, yeah? Network traffic and users on the systems. Thank you very much. First line. So there's basically a connection from the Solution Manager going to all those hosted systems by which Solution Manager can connect. It even gets better. These connections, technically stored in SAP transaction SM59, they have credentials associated with them. So The username and password for those connections is in the connection stored on the solution manager, which means if I am on the solution manager, I can simply, if I have the authorization to go to this transaction and to do something, I can access all systems from solution manager, all of the connected systems in the entire hosted environment. Maybe on this one is company A, company B, company C. If I'm here, I can access all of them. Demo. Let's have a look at this. I forgot to mention something. In order for this data exchange to take place, because I said it collects information and stuff like that, there is a substantially large packet of code within the basis systems, within the basis installations of all SAP servers, which is called the Solution Manager Tools plugin, STPI. It's a plugin with a lot of functionality that Solution Manager can leverage, and it's in all these systems. So let's see if I find my Solution Managers. No, need to go to the other server. So, and for example, we have this object. This is one of the packages part of the STPI. Just to give you an idea about the magnitude, these are all sub-packages of this component, and this sub-package is again sub-packages. And we're looking at the specific one, function groups. So, and within the function groups, there are function modules, which is code that I can call. And this is basically mostly all code that can be called remotely from the solution manager. So it's a lot of code within just this individual function group. And if you have a closer look just at the description of what these things do, get a list of involved RFC connections, SQL buffer trace, retrieve SQL buffer trace. What else? What else did we have here? I wanted to show you the possibility to call an SAP transaction through this. Of course, you always need authorization to do it, but the technical potential is there to execute it. Read a trace, and for example, delete the ATRA. Let's have a look at the source code of this specific function module, just to have some idea. So what the first stuff is, it does a remove RTR file. Let's click into that, and we see very, very well done. There's an authority check, and it checks, am I entitled to delete the file? So this is not an exploit or something. It just shows you what it does. It checks, is the caller authorized, and then it just deletes the data set provided as input, which means on the other way, if I turn this around, if I am authorized to call this, I can provide a file name and delete whatever file I want on the hosted system, in brackets, including log files, if I have the authorization. So this is just to give you an idea about that the software installed on all these systems callable from Solution Manager is a lot of stuff. Of course, I need the rights, but customers tend, in order to simplify their installation, to give the Solution Manager large rights, excessive rights, to do whatever it needs to do on those systems. So the chances are that your hosting provider may have misconfigured the Solution Manager with too extensive rights, allowing somebody on this box to basically do nasty things on all those boxes. So let's look at this a little closer. The Solution Manager, sorry, I forgot one minor detail. If we look now on a single installation on the left side, if I'm in a hosted box, there's also a way back to the Solution Manager. It's not that the Solution Manager calls me and gets something. I can also call the Solution Manager and ask him to do other things. So there are also connections from each of those boxes back to the Solution Manager, which means theoretically I can, on this box, hack the Solution Manager because I have a connection to it. From there, hack into all the other installations in the hosted environment as a risk. So therefore, Solution Manager has a very high attack surface because all of the hosted companies inside the hosted environment can attack the Solution Manager because they have a connection to it. if the solution manager falls, the entire system falls. All the connected systems fall with the solution manager. Also, many solution manager applications which you can run on solution manager are web-based. You can call them with HTTP and execute them. And specifically, a critical ODay in solution manager can result in access to all data of the hosted companies. Let's jump over to a solution manager system. Just again to show you a little bit about, and just pick some components from solution manager. These are all basically web services. Hey. Okay, this is a list of web applications on Solution Manager that are available. The gray ones are turned off, good sign. The black ones are accessible. So this is just a lot of stuff. Again, topic high attack surface. Of course, most of it is switched on. However, the hoster may do something wrong and may turn on too many of them. And these can be then called from the outside. So yeah, we also see there's a specific one called AGS Work Center, and this is also black. Now let's look what we can do with that. So I just copied a couple of the ones we have just seen here to the presentation. And now, what do you think is the most not intelligent thing you can do with the solution manager if you are a hoster or a company? What is the most not intelligent thing you can do with it? Put it on the internet. Exactly. Thank you very much. Let's see, where's my presentation? So I'm too lazy with this link. Let's just use this one, the AGS Work Center. Okay. Let's do a Google search. With simply one of the patterns that I can find in there. So an IC, log on, Anmeldung, which means log on, log on. These are solution managers on the internet, accessible via Google very easily. Now we can, I think, visiting the log on page doesn't really hurt. Let's take some maybe this. Okay, bad luck. JavaScript, let's take another one. That one again without any specific means. And now I'm on a log-on screen of Solution Manager on the internet, which is actually, I'm not blaming this specific company or person. I don't want to blame anyone, but it is not really the best idea to do something like that. And it's even worse if those companies then still have default passwords active. I'm not trying anything here. It's just showing you that some people have the idea, or maybe it's negligence or whatever, and put their solution manager online, maybe also accidentally. There was even an audit with a customer, and we told the customer, hey, you know that your solution manager is on the internet? That's really not a good idea, guy. And they said, we don't have a solution manager. But their hoster had his solution manager on the internet, and they didn't know about it. And this is really a big risk. So actually, solution manager itself is like an empty box. There is no business data in it. It's like a big house with nothing in it. It's just a technical thing. And so most companies, or many companies, think, why should I protect this thing? There's nothing in it. Unfortunately, this empty house has tunnels to all your houses with all your values in your entire city. That's why you should protect a solution manager. There's nothing in it, but it's the key to everything else you have. So this is, for scenario one, the risk that the solution manager is unprotected, potentially in the internet. You see, this is not a myth. It happens. And even if it's not on the internet, one hosted company can go through the access to Solution Manager, which is always there, otherwise it doesn't work. Break into Solution Manager, maybe through a 0-day, own Solution Manager, and then own all other hosted companies. This is one way of attack, even if you're in isolated boxes on hosting. Next thing, the single system means multiple companies are installed on the very same SAP machine. This can be done by SAP's way of client separation. So SAP, all of you who work with SAP know, if I log in, I always log into a specific client. These guys can only go to client 42, these guys only to 23, and no one can access client 007. So this is a way of having multiple different organizations on one system without the ability to look at the other guys or the other organization's data. This is a very good mechanism. It really works, at least inside companies. In a hosting scenario, it has certain risks. So let's look shortly how this works, so you have an idea how SAP is actually enforcing this kind of thing. So I can close this one. So if I'm displaying any table, any client-dependent table, the first thing I see is the first column in this table is called Mand, which is the abbreviation of the German word for client, Mandant. And all the tables that have this type of data element Mand in the first place are restricted to a single client. The other clients can't get at this data, neither reading nor writing it. Now, how does SAP enforce this? So I'm going to show you this, STR1. So I'm just activating the database access, the SQL trace. By default, it's usually off, because if you turn it on, it will kill your hard drive. Before I do that, I switch to transaction SE80. And OK, what I do here is this is a simple program that simply selects something from this table. And you see, in this select, I do not specify the column Mand, the client column. It's not in there. So supposedly, this should give me all the data if you're thinking SQL. Now let's see what happens. We turn now on this trace, database access trace. We execute this program. It does something. We don't care what it does. We trace off, and we analyze the trace. So give me that. Looks. Now we have this was just one click, and I have a trace like that. Let's have a look at where. Yeah, this is my program that hosted 1. If we look at this cryptic stuff now, we see that the select is here, and it now includes a where restriction to the Mand. So this is something that happens inside the SAP kernel. The kernel takes all the SQL statements, checks are they addressed to a table which is client relevant. If yes, I automatically restrict it to this client. So the code cannot get, the OpenSQL code cannot get any data of the other clients. So far the theory, which means if the hosted companies have their custom code, and all companies have custom code to some degree, their code is supposedly not be able to access data of the other hosted company on the same server. Supposedly. So. OK, so what are the risks? If you know OpenSQL from SAP, you know there are 3 ways to bypass the client separation of the SAP server. The first is to use the specific explicit option client specified in your OpenSQL statement. The second is to not use OpenSQL in the first place, but use execSQL and execute native SQL, which does not have the ability to separate by clients. And the third is to use the ABAP database connectivity interface, which allows you to compile whatever string and send it to the database driver. So these 2 have no implicit protection, and even with the implicit protection, it can be turned off. So let's jump over We don't need that one this time. I have another short report. So what does it do? The first one just counts the entries of the table. So it's only our client because the mandant is automatically appended. The second one says I count client specified from a different client. So I even say I'm in client 900 and I try to read from 911. And the third one says client specified, which means take away the client restriction, and I don't specify anything, which means I read all the data. If you execute this, we see our client has 52 data sets, 911 has 13, and altogether on all clients there are 82 entries, which means technically if I can write code, I can get at the data of all the clients on the same SAP system. So, and this is the risk you have if you're in a single system hosting system. Any custom ABAP code can access all data of all hosted companies. You're sitting all virtually in the same boat if you're hosted in a single system. If your hoster allows any of those to deploy custom code, this customer can then access all your data. Read it, write it, change it, whatever they want to do with it. And also any SAP ODay that allows cross-client access can also result in access to all of your data. And what kind of ODay classifies as allowing cross-client access to your data? Any ABAP command injection vulnerability on your server qualifies for that. Any native SQL injection qualifies for that. And any generic cross-client vulnerability, which means generic code by SAP developed to access data on other clients. Doesn't sound like there is such a thing, but it is, and this is what we are showing in this talk. There's actually two functions SAP provided, generic functions. One function says, allows me to name a table and retrieve all entries of this table from every client I choose. And the other function is the peer. It says, I have the potential to, again, specify a table and overwrite any data in that table I choose across clients. And this is installed on all SAP systems and can be even called via RFC. And now this is the time where I hand over the microphone to Shu.
Hello. Thanks, Andreas. OK, now I will show you how this looks like in the real system. OK, we have a system R660. So try it again. OK, we have the system twice. And once on the system 900, we have a user named hacker on 900, and the password is TROOPERS. OK, so on the other side, we log on with the client 911, and the user is CIO 911. So the password, because the CIO always think everything is secure, so the password is also secure. So just logging. We are in both systems. You can look it, OK. You can see here, we are on the client 900, and on the right side, we are on the client 911. So there's a transaction SE16 from ABAP that can show the tables. There's a dummy table we prepared, salary. there's some dummy data inside, and while there's no data here, 0 on the 900. So what we do now is try to use the user here on the left side on 900 client, try to get access to the data on the right side. Okay, it's somehow boring to just drop some lines in the SAP GUI. So what we do, Andreas already mentioned that we have 2 old days reported to SAP 2 years ago. There's a remote function enabled that we can just call them without writing a single line of code. So I will log off both systems. Well, actually, there are a lot of possibility to call RFC remote function call. So yeah, we developed our own tool. It is better. There's other possibility like macro in Microsoft Excel or JavaScript, VB script, all possible. So what you see here is we have R660, the system, and this is really important, we are on the client 900. We are using the user hacker 900. Okay. We try to connect, and we want to read the data. You remember that actually there's no data on the client 900. However, as the result set, we have all the data from other client here. That means we have read access to other client. So what we else can do? Yeah, salary. Somehow my name is here, and find my salary. I'm not satisfied with my salary. Yeah. So what I need to do is, I put more. Okay. Okay. We can read it again. Now, my salary exploded.
Just a disclaimer, whenever there is a successful exploit, there is clapping. So.
So what we else can do here, we could, for example, the EBAN, we can change the EBAN to mine, from my boss, change the EBAN, for example. Okay, and now I will show you another exploit. We still starting from the client 900. And what we want to do is to find a victim. So what I do here first is I want to get all the user lists from another system. So from 900 to 911. Well, I got the user list. The CIO 911 looks interesting. So I want to attack him. Okay. So we have found the username. Okay. You remember the password from the CIO 911. It was secure. So what I want to do is I want to make it insecure. That's the user CIO 911. Okay, so exploit works. I won't show you that the exploit really works. Okay. Some problem with Windows. Okay. So we try to log in again on client 911, and the user was CIO 911. So now in secure, okay? We are in. Yeah, so now when Chinese is in the system, that means, the CIO has, his company must shut down the system for 5 years, as FX said. So that's not enough for a hacker, because the hacker, so the CIO will notice it. That. So what we do is, okay, I implement another function as restore. Okay, we want restore the password from the CIO. It works again. Now we try to log on again. Still under 911. The user is still CIO. Now I type secure. Yeah. We are in again. So actually we can restore the password that the CIO won't notice it, and his account was hijacked. The attacker could do everything what he want. Yeah, that's what's with mine.
Thank you. Great. Thanks. So basically, this is just making the point that in such an environment, you can actually, either with custom code or with vulnerabilities in the substandard, access other clients' data. So now, we did a survey on almost 200 different custom code installations by SAP customers around the world, analyzing their code, and how much custom code performs cross-client access in their, in their own internally developed code. How many programs or how many occurrences of cross-client access do you think is common in the average standard customer installation? How many times do you see this unusual way of passing, crossing the wall to another client, explicitly in the code? Very rarely, I guess. Rarely. Okay, 76 times on an average customer installation of around 200 systems. This happens. This is, we can debate if it's rarely or not. Again, statistics can be viewed from various angles, but this is the number. And again, how many occurrences of the explicit word client specified do we see in the SAP standard? What do you think? How many are there? More or less than 76? I hear more. First, second, someone else? 2,000 plus occurrences in the substandard that use client specific. I'm not saying, hello SAP, I'm not saying that these are vulnerabilities. I'm just saying these are occurrences where code is accessing data on a different client. So now let's have a look at CVSS guide from First Org. Who is familiar with CVSS? Thank you very much, quite a lot of you. CVSS standard is supposed to give people an idea about how severe a problem is. And if you look at what the confidentiality impact is, partial, there's considerable informational disclosure. Access to some files is possible, but the hacker does not have control over what is obtained, or the scope of the data loss is constrained. An example is a vulnerability that divulges only certain tables in a database. Certain tables. Complete. There's total information disclosure resulting in all system files being revealed. The attacker is able to read all the system's data, memory files, etc. This is the advisory for the vulnerability related to the generic cross-client read access by SAP. You can download this in OSS notes. We sent it to SAP 13th of February 2012. It was fixed 14th of May in 2013. Patch time 451 days. I don't know if this is a lot or not. I do only work with SAP security. I don't break other things, just SAP. So I don't know if these numbers are industry average or not. It's just facts. These numbers are there. The CVSS rating for this cross-client information disclosure we showed you before is 3.5. And the confidentiality impact is partial. I don't comment on that. This is just what SAP put in the note. You can think about this yourself, whether this would make you install such a node quickly or not. Let's look at the integrity impact, CVSS, again, partial integrity impact. Modification of some system files or information is possible, but the attacker does not have control over what can be modified. Or the scope of what the attacker can affect is limited. So if we know SAP, we know that 99%, if not more, of all the information is in the database. Generic read access to the database, cross-client, gives me access to over 99% of all the data. Generic write access to the database gives me write access to 99%, if not more, of all the data in the SAP system. So now we can debate if this is a partial or if this is a complete integrity impact, if I can delete or modify and corrupt data as I wish. The same for availability. What can happen? You can read this stuff later. This is already online, the talk. If you want it, you can download it right after the talk. Again, here's SAP's note that fixes this specific write access vulnerability. Again, sent to SAP on the same date, 13th of February 2012, fixed 8th of April 2013, 415 days patch time till it was available. CVS Edge rating 6.0, impact on integrity partial, on availability partial, and interestingly, confidentiality partial for a write access attack. Something. So, summary. No statistics, no lies. If you are hosted, make sure that your hoster A installs all SAP security nodes in a timely fashion. Otherwise, you are prone to this kind of attack. Specifically ask him if the two nodes we showed there earlier are really installed, because if they are not, they are like the Swiss Army knife for an attacker. Check if your hoster allows custom code. Probably yes, they do, but how do they deal with this custom code? How do they prevent that one of the other hosted companies, maybe a competitor of you, is just at the hosting service with no data, some custom code, and wants to break into your stuff? Ask them, how do they deal with custom code? How do they make sure the other custom code does not affect your data? Also, check with the hoster, if you're not in a really shared environment and on one system, how the hoster mitigates risk related to Solution Manager. How does the hoster handle Solution Manager connections, authorizations? Is it really hardened down to the necessary minimum? Are the services offline? And first and foremost, is the Solution Manager of the hoster not online? So, and also ask if the hoster is performing penetration tests and security audits on a regular basis by SAP experts, by SAP security experts like Alexander Polyakov from Russia, or other companies like Virtual Forge or ESNC, or whatever the ones on the list that are the companies that have most SAP security know-how. You take someone that really knows what they're doing. Martin Gallo, sorry, I forgot you in the back. You're also an expert. Take some guy that knows what they're doing. That's not some penetration guy. So, if you have further interest in SAP security topic, here's the link to our blog. If you have interest in this specific talk, it's already available as PDF for download. You can try now to scan the QR code if you like, download it, otherwise it will be distributed after the Troopers conference. No QR code scanners? Okay, then we can skip to the last slide. If you have any questions, now would be a good time. Thank you very much for your attention.
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned about Solution Manager. How often do you see that the Solution Manager shared between different companies?
Every hoster that works on individual installations needs a Solution Manager to maintain these. For every hoster that does that, it is shared, if it's hosted. Of course, every company that has multiple SAP systems also has a Solution Manager, and also for every company, you would say, don't put your Solution Manager on the internet, because if you do, your entire SAP landscape is now accessible through a single point of attack. Your entire landscape, don't do that. Don't put your Solution Manager on the internet.
How can you find out that multiple companies are in your solution?
You go to the Solution Manager, you go to transaction SM59, with all the RFC connections, and you see all the systems that are connected. And I'm sure Solution Manager also has a lot of much nicer, much more usable functionality to show you all the systems in it. I see some people grinning here. Yes, it's true. Okay.
Shouldn't the hoster use a different sawman for each of his customers?
That would be an interesting approach, but I think highly complex to deploy. I don't know if this is possible.
I mean, if I'm a customer and consider SAP hosting, I would insist on not sharing such an administrative high-powered access component with other customers. And also, even if I have not learned about your client-specified cross-mandanten read-write access, I would be comfortable with sharing the same code domain with other customers, because with the way SAP security works, code can basically do whatever it wants. If there is no authorization object, it can just do anything it wants. So I don't want to be in a situation where I have to cope with other people's code, which I can't control anyhow, even without these bugs that we found.
Yeah, to summarize, you don't want to be in a situation where you're on a server with code from other companies.
Yes.
And this was exactly the case with the UK police. And the installation was even more insecure than the example I showed you there. So, but there technically is no alternative. Either you're on one system with multiple clients and you can jump walls with custom code or exploits, or you're on individual systems with a solution manager. I don't really know if it's possible to have solution manager and client one-on-one connections. I don't really know.
But all these isolation guarantees that I, as a customer, would like to have, of course, completely destroys the economy of scale on the hoster side,
Yep.
which was the reason to begin with to make it a commercially attractive offering.
Yes, right. Of course, it destroys the win of the hoster if they do that. And yesterday we had an interesting SAP security discussion of why people or why companies are so insecure, usually from various aspects. And one of the good answers to that was companies are only afraid of one kind of attacker. This attacker is called the auditor. For them, they lock down their systems, not for hackers, because there is no awareness of all the different things you could do wrong. There are very many attack vectors. Alexander Polyakov did a very good job earlier to show you how to break into a J2E installation through some voodoo stuff, attack vectors. Yeah, how are you supposed to tackle with that? And in a hosted environment, it's even more problematic to protect yourself, because all the other hosted companies have the power to deploy code and run custom code, and with that they can do literally everything. How much time do we have left? I don't want to distract. Oh, good. Okay, no, it's not my fault if you're too hungry and 3 minutes to your break. Did that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions? Yep.
So what would be the mitigation for the solution manager problem? Can I restrict the RFC rights for the user? Is that the problem?
Yeah, you can use a low privileged user for all the different individual systems. However, since Solution Manager is calling lots of different functions, it's very difficult to find the least set of authorizations that make sense and still make your system operational with the specific installations. It needs a lot of functionality. I'm sure it can be done, but it's a lot of work. And, yeah.
Does it matter which user credentials are used in the SM959?
No, it's just an RFC.
It's a dialog user or it's communication user?
It's a dialog user. No matter if it's a dialog or not, it doesn't really matter. Shu's attack showed you that with a simple tool which you can build, running with SAP's RFC toolkit, you can simply access.
Yeah, that's from the client, but I mean, from solution manager to system auditors through the RFC connection, so you have to make that secure. Can you make it secure that by using the user line?
We didn't look into that too deep, but I think it's also a dialog user. Mehmet, is that true? It depends. Okay, good. It depends. Cool. Good chance that you're lucky.
Maybe the point is here, as soon as you own the solution manager, you can obviously, of course, also change all the settings within solution manager. So I don't care on any authorizations whether the solution manager is soon as I can own the solution manager, then it's the question on the authorizations in the client system.
Yeah, but it's about the setup of the connection and the logon credentials of the RC.
I mean, definitely you can lock this down to cut the long story short, but it's risky. It's a risky component, and it should not be in an exposed position like the internet. Definitely not. But we can also discuss offline afterwards about whatever other questions you may have. I don't want to keep people from their lunch. Any other questions? Last minute questions? Okay, then thank you very much, and bon appetit.